looks like an oscillation, a powerful vulnerability. For the art opening this Friday of Video and Performance Arts final show, I will be performing 2 hours a day, every day for the duration of the show. I've built a small stage, a platform, a lighting kit, and some curtains. I will stand on this stage in some kind of drag, holding presence, confidence, space, performing presence. There will be a pair of headphones near me which prompt the viewers to ask questions about my and their own gender, race, and cultural unconscious. I don't know if this will be here. Oh, website, I need to read that. I don't want to tell you anything, but I do want to ask a question to communicate something which could potentially resonate with you. I'm trying to deal with this body, to recognize that ignoring it is to deny my subjectivity, self-reflexivity that I need to communicate with you in modernity. Brecht says, reality alters. To represent it, the means of representation must alter too. We cannot communicate through predetermined routes because that rendering would not reference a present reality. We must always come at the rendering differently. To me, this doesn't necessarily mean denying the other renderings, but staying within the previous, present, and future as a specific subjective body in a moment. And to give this validity and strength, this is potentiality. This is the sea. This is my body at the edge of that sea, at once a part of that crowd and at once something separate in the moment. Bring it on. Okay, well my original idea was to like cross like low culture with high culture and really be like mapping these things onto each other. And so like I wanted to kind of be in drag and I wanted to be lip syncing and I wanted, you know, like all of these different, I wanted to be charting these things on top of each other. And like the thing that I'm really skeptical about is like I don't want to be outsourcing. Like I want to be staying really true to, and this is really true. Like I wasn't expecting it to be like this, and it is. So yeah. So, but I want to still push myself to make it showing and not telling too.
Can you talk a little more? So just because we're giving you feedback on this lecture you're going to do soon, right?
Yeah.
So in the lecture, you get up, and then these images you talked about, they go in the whole time, they go in sequence of what you say.
The quote will come up when I say it. The images will always be going, and then the new quote will come up when I say it, and the images will always be going. Originally I was thinking about starting it by standing on the podium and lip syncing for like 5 minutes as an intro.
Lip syncing
my voice.
your voice.
Yeah.
You lip syncing the lecture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just for the first 5 minutes, some kind of like intro. Yeah.
I found the sort of dark and vulnerable performance of just this really compelling.
Okay.
I would say that without a lot of layers of other performance elements, other visual elements. Probably because of and the space is conducive to this as well. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Where are these happening? Lectural one. Lectural one. Okay. That will affect it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But because of the personal quality that you have
I think that's why I asked that question, Dina, because I feel like for me, there's a way that like, yeah, I mean, I think your impulse to question like this outsourcing or what you need, like what kind of performance like is a good one. I think it's a good impulse to question because I think that part of what it sounds like, even you saying like in this you talked about like I went to drag and that taught me something, but then I also kind of went back to this other thing or to this image of this girl, and so there's something very effective about the image that you present us being this girl, right? Like being, and also there's something about even the use, like invoking the use of the concept of drag, right? Like as a thing that's sort of, you know, there's this way that you could think of drag as this kind of outlandish performance, but then there's also this way that you can think of it as lots of the different ways that we perform, like body and gender, right? So
Yeah.
that somehow us having to get that, cross that image with this image,
Yeah, it's like making you do more work.
right, and having to be like, oh wait, what is this thing? Or, you know, what does she mean by drag? I mean, I think that's maybe some of the things that I'm interested in is like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean by that? And what is the difference between the drag that's here and the drag that's in daily life and in the gallery? You know, like that there's some, I think, important space. I think there's something important about the space between those things.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
I'm really aware of you, of your physical self, and the way you were standing. Especially when you started talking about your mother, probably because you gave an indication of your own height relative to her butt. Your hand, I don't know if you knew, but your hand went back to indicate your height at her butt level.
Oh no.
Wait, and you indicated it on your own body. So I was paying a lot of attention to your body, and I think that goes to what you're saying there. And this feels like an exploration of what I think. I don't know your work. Because at first I felt like I wanted your work. Like, I know what you're talking about. How did you do this? And then I just more and more focused on you as your work. And so because of that, I felt like you are an exploration of femininity and showing up and claiming exactly what you're saying, claiming your subjectivity, and that this is a claiming of your subjectivity.
Yeah,
So
that's what I really, that's great, because that's really what I want it to be, is like not like showing images of my work, but like being it, and that's what I mean, like performing it. I want it to be able to perform it, you know? So, if that's happening, I mean, like, that's great. Yeah.
So the question I have is you looked at the piece of paper the entire time,
Yeah.
saying hi to mom. And I'm wondering, is that a choice you're making, or is that because you're wed to this text, so that you can, you know, I wrote this thing and I don't know it, so therefore I have to read it, or is it because you want, how do you imagine your relationship to this going to be?
Yeah, I don't think I would like to look at the paper. I'm just like terrified. Like I hate doing this, and it's a huge push for myself to do it. So
Okay.
I think finding that the relationship between that, because there's an element of that I think is actually pretty cool. There's silent words, and like in between these two things, they're being spoken. And there's something that like bothers me about like the whole like read, look at, you know. So
Well, I guess my thought is if you were to do this over and over and over again, so you know it,
yeah.
so then you can decide
Mhm.
when you're looking up and when you're not, and
Yeah.
are you looking up or are you not? And you would be in control of it more,
Mhm.
and then I think you could do a lot of what you're talking about in here, in the sense of I don't want attention, being feminine is a weakness. I didn't want to be. How can vulnerability be power? I mean, you could, and then you said, you know, show not tell. So you necessarily point to point, like,
Yeah.
but you could have more of a vocabulary even within this, even if you just continue to stand there and read that. And it may be in the end you decide to stand there and read the whole piece of paper, that's your choice, but it seems like you could make the choice as opposed to be,
Yeah.
I mean, that's hard to look like a choice, too.
Yeah.
Rather than, I don't know this and I'm not looking up.
and I think which connects to another thing, which is, and this is true everybody all the time, I think, is never apologize. So the first thing you did when you stood up is you said, look, I'm sorry, this isn't quite worked out, the images weren't quite right. And so don't do any of that. Not even here.
Yeah.
Because this is where you're standing up, this is your 30 minutes, you are doing your thing, and you're in charge.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, that seems to be, by not doing that, then you would be part of what you're trying to talk about.
Totally. It's so funny because I had a friend look at the paper I'm writing, and he just reworded everything I said to be a statement because I kept being like, I am interested, or I feel like, and yeah, so it was really just that shift